Service setup is where you actually set up the things that your students can do. Generally, I have them set up as services. Resources has gotten, it's complicated and not really worth the trouble because they don't always show up in your Google Calendar. So if I go into services though, you can see I've got all of my services divided up into their categories: finals, IPS conferences, homework help, other things like new student conferences. So they're all here. So like, let's say I wanted to set up a new category. Let's pretend like I'm setting up final exams, even though I have that category already. So I have a new category. Let's call it finals. Make it a little different. I can choose what color I want it to be. Sure, green. I like it. Let's hit save. So at the bottom here, I have my new category, and I have to add services to it in order for it to be doing anything. So this plus sign will add a service to it. Initially, I just had one finals option, and I just told students that they can take however long they needed for the final. But this gives the student the ability to say, I know this is going to take me a while, so I want to reserve a longer block of time. In the end, I still don't cut them off at the end of a final. I want them to take their time and do their best work. So, but you can set up these services so that they can last however long you want, whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours. For most things, I set it for finals and that kind of thing, I set it for longer. For chats, I set it for shorter. But you give it a name, final exam, whatever you want to call it. You have to pick your location, and I'll show you how to select or how to make Google Meet a part of this, or on site, how to set up your locations. But I'm going to set this up as an on-site thing. And I want to set it up as a Google Meet because I want students to be able to do both on here. I'm going to select myself as the team member. Price is one of those things that they force that like you have to have on there, or a setting that you have to set, but because it's used for other things besides scheduling appointments with teachers. And then you set your duration. You hit save. Yay! There's my new service, and I can. If I click on it now, I can play with a couple more settings, like choosing the color if I wanted to switch that around. And there's a couple other things that you can play with. You can add padding time. So let's say, like, if you're doing a meeting with a student and you want to have a little bit of time to kind of write down your notes afterwards, you could have padding time afterward and set it for 5 minutes. And then in your calendar, when this shows up, the event is going to be 1 hour and 5 minutes long. And that's the amount of time that it blocks off. This is handy if your students trying to schedule a bunch of stuff at once. And then they end up back to back and you don't have enough time to write anything down. And this option, allow online booking, that's whether or not this is visible to the students. So if you wanted to take away that option, and actually I can show you where it's more useful. I'm going to turn it off right now because I don't want to confuse my students. But I hit save. And that you want to make sure you hit save before you move to any other pages, because otherwise it doesn't save what you just did. You can go to team and change who who they schedule with if you're using more than one person for that link. And then resources, locations, all of that, I would just leave as is.